Season's greetings from your friends that never seen it. My name is Trent. I'm sitting here with my life partner, Betsy.
That's me.
That's you. Betsy, we are on our third holiday movie of the month of December. Every Sunday this month, we're covering a different kind of a holiday movie. And this is going to be kind of a different one because we're going to cover a brand new movie that happens to be around the Christmas season, but it's serving two different roles because the movie we're watching is The Holdovers, and this movie is very much an Oscar contention. So we're kind of hitting two birds with one stone here by covering this movie. So, Betsy, what do you know about The Holdovers?
So first of all, neither of us has watched this yet because it's new.
It's brand new.
I know this is reuniting Paul Giamatti and Alexander Payne. And Alexander Payne is the guy who wrote and directed movies like Sideways and The Descendants. I'm sure there are other ones I'm forgetting, but those are the two I immediately think of.
Yeah, and I haven't seen Sideways. Have you?
I saw it once many, many years ago, and I feel
Yeah.
like it's the kind of thing you and I probably should have watched together by now, but for some reason we
Maybe.
haven't.
I don't know. I think when I heard about Sideways back when it was new, it seemed very pretentious, and I think that's the point.
That is the point.
It's a
Because
bunch of wine snobs.
It's about wine snobs.
Yeah, and we are nothing of wine fans on this podcast. And The Descendants, I've only seen once, and I didn't really like it. Like, I kind of disliked it.
I'm pretty sure we watched that more than once. I certainly have seen it more than once, but
You saw it, I think, separate from me, but then we sat down to watch it together once, and I didn't like it.
potentially.
Anyway,
But you are vaguely familiar, at least, with this guy who wrote this.
I guess.
And this movie is a period piece. I'm guessing from the trailer, it's either the late 60s or the early 70s.
That's the vibe I get, yeah.
And it is some kind of a prep school where there is a group of people who do not go home for the Christmas vacation.
Yeah.
So Paul Giamatti is the teacher who has to stay behind with, I assume, one student?
Well, it is The Holdovers. It is plural, so...
Well, that would be the two of them. That's plural.
I guess.
I don't know if there are any other students, but it's that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's that thing where neither of them wants to be there, and then I suppose they get to know each other and they bond.
Yeah, and Paul Giamatti, of course, we have talked about him before. He is one of our favorite actors. And this is only the second leading role that we have covered. Earlier this year, we did American Splendor, which we really, really liked. But Paul Giamatti is going to play, I believe, his normal grumpy self, where he doesn't want to be there, like you said. Maybe he doesn't really have a family of his own to go home to, and the student and him are going to bond over the fact that they have nothing to go home to. That's my gist here.
And it's the spirit of the season, the holidays. They will learn lessons and grow.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm getting from this. So, again, this is a movie that is getting a whole lot of buzz around Oscar stuff, specifically for Paul Giamatti as a lead actor. I don't know about anybody else in the movie. I know there's more than two people in the movie for sure. But other than that, I can't really tell you much about what happens in it, any kind of plot. I mean, I assume that this is going to take place over the course of maybe a week. You know, Christmas break.
A week or two, probably.
Maybe. I guess we're going to go and watch Holdovers. We're going to rent this, so we're not actually going to the theater this time. It's much easier for us to just sit on our couch. But we're going to go watch The Holdovers. We'll be right back. And we're back. Betsy, vacation's over, back to school. What did you think of The Holdovers?
That was great. I think I was smiling pretty much the entirety of that movie. I just had this serene little look on my face, except for the moments where it was edging me towards the area where I start crying. I don't think I fully cried,
Yeah,
but there were a few moments.
Yeah, I don't think they were really trying to get you there. I didn't have any of those moments, but I agree. This is a really great story. The characters are great. It is very much a slice of life from 1970, and these characters just, they evoke a lot of the anxieties that a lot of people were going through back in those days. You know, Paul Giamatti, I don't know if there's any negative thing to say about him, except for yes, he's played this kind of guy before, but he can play that kind of asshole character, but at the same time, he's not actually that bad. You can actually have a good time with him. You can actually rib him about him being weird, and he's okay with it because he knows it.
He is misunderstood.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys that has no problem being alone. And so when other people like reject him, he goes, that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to get me.
I didn't want to be with you anyway.
Yeah, who cares?
Right. And like you have the scene of them at the cafeteria where everybody's eating and all of the different teachers and professors are at their own table at the end of the thing, and there's a place set for him, but he doesn't participate.
He's a loner.
Yeah.
Some guys are just like that. Again, we just said this in a movie a few weeks ago where there is a version of you, Trent, that exists that is this man.
Yeah, it's kind of like A Man Called Otto when we were doing the Tom Hanks series, where he is resigned to the fact that, yeah, I know I'm weird. Yeah, I know I'm not like everybody else.
I'm a grumpy asshole.
I'm a grumpy asshole. Yeah, I know I stink. And these are very unique things about me. I have accepted that. I'm okay with it.
And I don't care what other people think of me.
I really don't. I'm just going to live my life. Fuck you.
Well, one thing I would note about this movie, this is, like you said, a slice of life. This is kind of like The Breakfast Club, where
I was getting Breakfast Club vibes the entire way.
It is a group of people that would otherwise never be put in a room by themselves together.
Bunch of miscreants.
Who are mismatched, but the longer they spend together, the more they discover they have in common.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this 2 weeks, they go back to their lives. And if he hadn't been fired and he was still on campus, it would never be exactly the same, but it would mostly go back to the way it was. They would just have those knowing, like, nods and glances.
Right.
Like, Mary's still there, the kid's still there, but they just kind of move on.
Yeah, like all of the other students come back and it's back to, being a little teenage asshole.
And they just have this shared moment between them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it is a moment.
Yeah, they have this knowing thing where if they pass each other in the hallway, they might, say something in passing, but, they're not going to be friends. They're not going to hang out outside of this 2 weeks, like you said. And, talking about being a slice of life, this is taking place in 1970. A lot of things happening in the late 60s and early 70s, of course. We have this side story about Mary's son, who graduated the prior year from this same school, who went off to Vietnam, which, by the way, they only say the word Vietnam once, as far as I could tell. He went off to Vietnam and he was killed. And Mary is still at this school because apparently it just had recently happened. Mary's still at the school working because she got the job because if she was an employee there, they would have let her son go there for at least a discounted rate or maybe free.
Maybe free.
Yeah.
And she feels connected to the school because that is where they were together, her and her son.
Right. And she can't bring herself to move on from this thing, and she likes it to a point, And how can you really like your job, especially if it's a thing like that in let's just call it the service industry.
Specifically at a place where the clientele are a bunch of spoiled little baby men, asshole turd shits.
Yeah, we'll get to more of that in a bit, but we get the backstory of Paul Giamatti. He is an only child. He was born to a mother that died young, and his father was probably a drunk and abusive asshole who probably just disappeared. I don't think he would have died early on, but he was probably just not in the picture much.
Well, he said he left home.
Yeah.
He and his dad didn't get along. He fucked off when he was 15 and he never looked back.
Yeah, he got a scholarship to this school when he was 15. He went through the entire process. He went to Harvard. He was able to get into Harvard from this prep school. And from there, he just got a job as a teacher at this other thing after he got kicked out, of course.
The way they reveal his character a little bit at a time,
Yeah.
and they do that with everybody in this movie.
Yes.
You get little bits and pieces And it's just a good lesson that you should never make judgments about people because you don't know what their story is. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know their history. And just because you might think something doesn't mean it's true.
And that's the whole Breakfast Club thing. Because in that movie, it is all of these archetypes of high school, where you got the jock and you got the brain and you got the pretty girl and you got the weirdo and all that stuff. But in this, it's a different kind of... these are like roles in this society, I guess, in this setting, where it's a teacher, a student, and then the help, I guess.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah. But it's also couched in, hey, this is 1970, and there's a lot of other things going on here. Whereas The Breakfast Club is, hey, this is what it was like in the 80s.
Yeah, we're all privileged white kids in suburban Chicago.
Right.
They'll get over it.
Right.
Here, it's a lot darker. Like, dad is in a mental institution because he's probably a paranoid schizophrenic.
Yeah, that's what they say.
They do say it. I can't remember. Then you've got this kid who is on antidepressants because mom is not present. She's got her new husband, and they're kind of assholes and just dump their son off somewhere. And then you've got Mary, like you said, whose son is dead, and she's just relegated to the background in this world where, you know, the rich boys, the rich assholes are always like, well, she should be doing a good job. She's paid to do this. Why does she have to act like that? Like, oh, shut up.
Shut the fuck up.
And of course, Paul Giamatti, who has a lot more problems in his past that get revealed over time. Like, he's also kind of an alcoholic.
Sure.
He is, when it's revealed that he got kicked out of Harvard because his roommate was a prick, this guy is basically the kid in another like 30, 40 years.
Totally. And there's all these undertones of, and it's not necessarily like a white privilege thing, but all of these kids have some kind of privilege. They come from a rich family.
They come from waspy people, certainly, because this is like Massachusetts, it's the Boston area.
Yeah.
And like at the beginning, when they're dismissing them, they have a church service and they say, Merry Christmas, or for those of you who are not Christian, Happy Hanukkah. And everyone has a good chuckle because, you know, there's just nobody that applies to there.
Right. And because it is not a religious school, this is just basically the chapel where it's a non-denominational chapel, but really, come on.
It feels like maybe it's not a Christian school, but there is a Christian undertone.
Yeah. And of course, in the 60s and 70s and prior to that, you could get away with that because it is not a state-funded school.
It's a private institution. They can do what they want.
Indeed. But kind of going back to the backgrounds of, I guess, these kids. So we got Angus, who, like you said, he comes from a family with, it's a broken home situation. Mom married this rich guy, and the rich guy is putting... And Angus has been through a number of different schools. The rich guy puts him in all these private schools, and he keeps on failing out. He keeps on getting kicked out.
Teen rebellion.
For one reason or another, but it's because... hey, he's got unresolved issues with himself and his dad and his family in general.
The kind of stuff that teenagers tend to have to deal with.
Yeah, and the new husband and the mom go off on a honeymoon and don't tell Angus. They just drop it on him right before he's supposed to be picked up. He was expecting to be picked up that day.
And they were going together because he kept saying, oh yeah, I'm going to this like tropical place. That's why I have my swimsuit.
Yeah.
And they didn't bother to mention to him they weren't going to bring him along because it's just been so busy and we've had so much going on. We haven't had a proper honeymoon. You'll just be in the way. Can't you just do this one thing for us?
Yeah.
Gross. You're terrible.
Yeah.
Don't you? Yeah. Some parents just need to talk to their children. And I know that at the end when she's talking about him, she just has made assumptions about how he is and who he is and has not really... She's kind of given up. She stopped trying to understand him and help him along.
Yeah, and there might also be something behind that where, like when the kid says, oh yeah, my mom just looks at me and she thinks that I'm going to be my dad. And Paul Giamatti just puts his foot down and says, no, that is not the case. I'm not my father. I might be kind of an alcoholic here, but I'm not abusive. I'm not going to leave my family. I am who I am. and you can follow your own path. But the mother, I think, does have that in her mind, that the son is going to follow the same path as his dad, and maybe have these mental issues, and maybe he just needs to go to military school, and that'll straighten him out.
Do you think that she is kind of a villain, or do you think that she maybe is a little more sympathetic than we're giving her credit for? Because when you're hearing the kid describe it, and, dad was there and everything was fine, and then he started acting weird, and she just shoved him in this asylum, and she divorced him, and he didn't even know what was going on, and now she's remarried and trying to move on.
Yeah, and it's introducing this extra, inconvenience of her having to move the guy.
Yeah, but the way she says it, she says, do you know how hard it was to find a place for him, and now we have to find another place for him?
Sure.
I almost got the sense that there is a part of her that feels shitty about this. Maybe a small part, but a part.
I honestly don't know. We just didn't get enough of her, and...
Yeah, she's painted with a broad brush.
And, of course, Stanley is the the textbook definition of a rich wasp. And, he's probably showing up there because he has to.
They strike me as the kind of people that solve their problems using money.
Yeah.
Or throwing a fit. When they show up at the end of the movie, they show up at the school, and they just assume that, oh, well, our son, he's done it again, and now we have to send him to military school. It's the only solution because it's the only way he'll ever learn discipline. They don't try to talk to him. They don't try to get an explanation. They just show up and throw a fit and yell at the school.
Yeah, and we also don't know what happened in that meeting. I'm sure the kid was in there with them at the time.
Eventually, maybe.
Yeah.
He says, I don't know what was said in that room. Because they wouldn't tell him. Why would they? He's a child.
I suppose, yeah.
They don't treat him like an adult in any capacity.
Yeah, and that kind of happens when there's an event where you're kind of disconnected from your children, where you have to be an adult and you have to take care of the father in this case. You have to spend all this time and effort to try to find a home for him. And meanwhile, your teenage son is growing up before your eyes and you're not paying attention to him. You just ship him off to private school.
Yeah, it's easier.
Yeah.
Because you have the money to do it.
Well, like you said, everything is easier with money. They send him a card with cash in it. What is he going to do with cash while he's locked away at the school?
And he's not supposed to leave. They basically say
Right.
The rules are you stay on campus.
Right. And I imagine the parents know that.
Maybe go buy yourself, a Star Wars. It's 1970.
And of course, beyond the three main characters here, because I would say that there's only three.
Yes, when they start this break, they are called the Holdovers. Literally, that's...
Yeah.
Oh, these are the ones holding over. There are 5 kids who stay over the break. But then Rich Daddy flies in a helicopter and
Right.
takes the rest of them skiing because they're able to get their parents on the phone and get permission for them to leave.
Well, even they are the stereotypical, this is the jock and this is the loser, this is the religious kid and this is the
foreign
foreigner.
exchange kid.
Yeah. One of them, the white kid is a Mormon. Why did his parents not show up? I forget.
Oh, he said they were on a mission.
That's right. They were on an overseas mission trip.
Yes, they were.
The Korean kid, they didn't want him to travel by himself back to Korea. And then the other kid they always get into a fight. I don't remember his name. And his folks told him, oh, no, we're renovating the house and we're putting all this extra stuff in your room, so there's no place for you to stay. So you can just stay at the school.
Well, and the only other kid who was left was the jock. He's a great football player or something. He just doesn't want to go home because he refuses to cut his hair. His thing is he doesn't want to cut his hair.
Right.
And it's a battle of wills. And his dad is the one who caves.
Yeah, and of course, the dad wants to go along on this ski trip as well, and he's just dangling this threat over the top of the kid because he doesn't like his long hair. He doesn't want him to be a hippie.
And I'm pretty sure at the end of the movie, the kid who is getting out of the shower with short hair is that kid.
I think you're right.
So I'm pretty sure by the end of the movie, he still ended up cutting his hair.
Because why else would that scene be there?
Exactly.
Because you barely recognize the kid because he's got the short hair.
And it would make no sense to show him like a kid in the shower. Why would that be there?
Why
otherwise?
is that a thing? So yeah, that must have been him. But of course, the father does show up in a helicopter, like they said, just lands on the quad, as it were, picks up all of these other kids, but you need permission to leave the place. So I guess all of the other parents said, yeah, go along with this very rich man.
The strange man in a helicopter.
But you know what? In a situation like this, I'm sure all of these parents know each other because they all fly in the same circles.
And they're all legacy people where they all went to this school, so all their kids go to the school.
Yeah. Well, and as long as we're talking about that, the conflict that Paul Giamatti's character is in at the very beginning is that the headmaster of this place is pissed off at Paul Giamatti because he failed like a senator's son who was a legacy student of the father who went there before. He gave him like a failing grade, and the headmaster says, well, why can't you just give him a C+? Come on. And, okay, is this maybe a subtle jab at George W. Bush? Because he went to Yale and he graduated with a C+ average.
I think it's a jab at any institution where a bunch of privileged, dumb kids go.
Yes.
Where they just keep pushing them through because mommy and daddy sign big checks.
Right. And they say, oh, yeah, I'm not going to get into this thing because my father's name is not on the gym.
My father, the inventor of toaster strudel, will not be happy to hear about this.
Yeah.
But Paul Giamatti's character, also called Paul, as it happens,
of course,
he has a point where he is trying to make them their best and get them to be better.
Yeah.
His job is not to push them through and let them pass on okay or bad.
Right.
He wants them to actually do better because somebody did it for him.
And Paul Giamatti is a really good teacher. He knows his stuff front to back, and maybe the way he's teaching it isn't getting through to these kids, but at the same time, a lot of them are just kind of coasting, it seems. Like he says in the classroom scene at the beginning, it's like, all of your glassy-eyed looks every day that I come in here, no wonder you failed. But of course, the only person that has an actual good grade is a B+, and that's Angus. Everybody else gets a lot worse.
And it might be that these kids are coasting. It could also be his fault, because he should, if everybody else is doing poorly, like clearly that kid in the back got a B+. That was the highest grade in the whole class.
Right.
It's not that he isn't getting through, but that kid has a knack for what he is teaching.
Yeah.
Everybody else is like, this is confusing and I don't understand it. Sometimes kids are just kind of dumb. Like they just need extra help having it explained to them or simplify it so that they actually memorize it and learn it. When they're at the museum later, Angus says, well, why don't you teach it that way?
Right.
That would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, get our attention, make it interesting. But I guess maybe Paul thinks that if he teaches it any other way would be a disservice to the history.
Which is really funny because the whole time he's talking about classic Civ and ancient civilizations.
Yeah.
And that your history does not predicate your future.
Right.
But the fact that he would refuse to change his own history of teaching is an it's an interesting wrinkle.
Yeah, there's a lot of different like juxtapositions here and contradictions of like, oh, you're a Barton and Bartons don't lie or something like that. Well, I did this. Well, I did that. It's okay because I'm outside of the school. And why are you even questioning me? And back to the classroom thing. The guy in the center, I don't know who it was. He says, well, I can't fail this class. Well, Paul says, well, clearly you can, so congratulations. But he says, I can't fail this class because I'm supposed to go to this Ivy League school.
To Yale
I'm
or
supposed to go to
somewhere.
Yale. I'm supposed to go to wherever. Well, clearly you're not supposed to do it because you failed this class.
It's that thing that English teachers love to do. Can I go to the bathroom? I don't
know.
know. Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you clearly can fail this class, but it's not up to me entirely to make sure you pass it.
Yeah. If you paid attention to the things that I was talking about and you read the things that I told you to read and you understood it, and if you didn't understand it, you should have come to me. But if you actually understood it, you would have done better on this final. But Betsy, I have to ask.
Okay.
You were a classics major.
A little bit. That's
Yeah.
kind of a thing I did.
Uh-huh. And there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm sure that you identified with and can recognize and remember.
You'd like to think so, but it's been almost 20 years. No, it's that thing of in the moment, in the here and now, when I was taking multiple semesters of ancient Greek, I could have read what was on the board behind him, but my Greek is very rusty. But when he was rattling off all the places he wanted to visit, I was like, yes, I would also like to go there.
Sure.
Yes, please. Can I do that? When can I go? But I figured out pretty quickly when he starts going off about the Peloponnesian War. We are, like the third time this has come up in 2023 on the podcast.
And it's really strange because he said the Demosthenes, which is the same guy that Paul Giamatti brings up in John Adams. John Adams brings that up during the Continental Congress when they're trying to write the Declaration of Independence. Seriously, it's just a strange coincidence that he says that name twice.
That character and this one have a lot in common.
They really do.
If you go and watch this movie and you haven't seen John Adams, or vice versa, you should fill in that gap and make sure you watch both, because you'll see a lot of correlation where, again, John Adams is a grumpy asshole, but not to those who know him and love him.
Yeah, he's kind of a prickly guy. He rubs people the wrong way. But in the end, he's smarter than you are. He just he doesn't know how to have a deft touch to anything. So if you haven't seen the John Adams miniseries on HBO, I highly, highly recommend it. I've seen it like 6 times.
It's really, really good. But this character, Paul, is the same way, where he is the smartest guy in that classroom. Since we're talking about how smart he is, I want to talk about the fucking language in this movie.
Yeah.
There are some linguistic gymnastics happening with the way he just picks all of these flowery words. But even the students, you can tell, are actually pretty smart.
Totally.
Like Angus, the way he says, I didn't do it. He doesn't just say, I didn't do it. He says, I'm insulted by your inference or something like that.
And that's stuff that we both love.
Yes, people where it's unexpected for them to talk like that.
Yeah. Or in a really strange situation, you would not use flowery language like that when he's at the bar at the bowling alley talking to Santa Claus and the bartender about, actually Santa Claus would be more in this kind of a getup because of this X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, he was actually a Turkish bishop from this time, and you would be better served in a robe and slippers.
Seriously.
But that's the kind of stuff. When you know you are smart, you cannot help but be smart every moment of your day, and people hate that shit.
And you don't have the social skills that come with, coming up with brothers and sisters and having a quote-unquote normal life of going to normal schools and having the normal steps along your way.
And just normal, social skills, cues from other people, looking at them and going, I'm being an asshole right now, aren't I?
Right.
You can read it on their face. He doesn't know how to do that.
And he also can't tell that that lady is actually kind of being friendly with him and maybe flirting with him a little bit.
Yeah, whether sparks are flying.
Yeah, whether there's any intention behind that or not, he's not picking up on it.
He's not someone who is often hit on by women.
Right.
He doesn't buy it. So when somebody suggests that it might be happening, he's like, the fuck it is.
And of course, to contrast that, Angus is a fucking ladies' man. He's getting kissed on by the niece.
When they're at the Christmas party.
When they're at the party, and he's talking up the ladies at the bowling alley.
They're making eyes at him. He's a cute kid, and everybody's like, hello, and tall, skinny.
And he's bragging to the other guys at the dorm about all the ladies he's been with. The more I think about it, the more, maybe he has been.
It could also just be bullshit.
It's more than likely bullshit, but still. But the dichotomy between these two characters, Angus and Paul, kind of come into better effect near the end of the movie because they're bonding in whatever way that they can. But Paul discovers that there's a lot of stuff going on with this kid, and maybe I shouldn't be such an asshole. And it's not until he finds out, oh, this kid is on antidepressants. And guess what? So am I.
Same ones. We're on the same medication.
And I feel like there was gonna be a moment there where, oh, you're on this drug? And he cuts him off because he goes into the bathroom. At that moment, he probably could have said, you know what, man? I'm on the same thing. I've been on them since I was this age. They really help keep up with it, or whatever he was going to say.
I think it's just another way to demonstrate that they're cut from the same cloth, and he sees a lot of himself in this kid. Like, if he chooses a specific road, he's gonna ruin his fucking life the way I've kind of ruined my own.
Right. And
he's happy where he is, but he knows that he's just sort of stuck.
Yeah.
He got there and stopped.
Yeah, and if there's anything that Paul can do to prevent him getting off of this path, he's gonna follow that direction. Whether it gets him fired or not, it doesn't matter. He doesn't want this kid to follow the wrong path, as it were.
He doesn't want his future to be ruined. Yeah. So if he can get out of the way and save his life, he will.
Yeah. Well, speaking about the future, let's talk about the past. Betsy, this movie is taking place in 1970, and the way the movie starts really made us happy.
This movie is an absolute love letter to cinema of this window of time.
100%. Because not only do we get the old, studio logos at the beginning of the movie, which is always a treat, but they do the same kind of, credit treatment to all of the directors and the writers and the actors and everybody else. They go all the way up until the end, where they have, the copyright and the MPAA notices.
And the rating with the R and full screen.
The MPA rating right before they get to the movie. It's fucking awesome.
And it's the audio, too. The crackly film noise. And the whole movie is like that, where they have run it through a filter, where they filmed it regularly, but they added little dirt spots and pops and breaks in the film throughout. So it is so pitch perfect to the time it's taking place. It's just chef's kiss.
Yeah, and 2 years, was it last year that I said that The Graduate was my favorite movie? That movie came out 3 years before when this movie would have taken place.
It was 68 or something.
Something
67,
like that, yeah. I totally got the vibes from this movie as I did in that movie. It's really crazy.
There's also a lot of things in the way they kind of edit it, like those weird fade in and out zooms that they do, where it's just overlaying instead of just a hard cut. It's a soft dissolve.
Well, and speaking of zooms, Betsy, at the beginning of the movie, Betsy said, "Oh man, I really, really hope that they do one of those really crash zooms out."
Where they're so close, and then they just keep zooming out so far away.
But it's really fast.
And I kind of screamed it. I was like, if he doesn't do this at some point in this movie, I'm gonna rage.
And it's the moment where Paul Giamatti is going out to find the kid who just disappeared
from the movie theater.
Yeah. And it's zoomed all the way into Paul Giamatti, and then it zooms way out.
I was so ecstatic when they did that effect, because it is, I feel like, the quintessential film trick from this time.
Yeah.
It's so odd and specific to early 70s, late 60s cinema.
They did it in The Graduate.
And they don't do it now. The best thing you'll get is a quick zoom in. Now you might get a zoom in, but not out the way they do that.
Right. The zoom in now is the fucking TikTok people who are doing that as their emphasis.
Right. But there are just great ways that he filmed this, framed it, edited it, that are so of that time.
It evokes that era in so many different ways, down to all of these little details that he's just kind of throwing in there, especially with all of the extra dirt spots, because it is kind of a lost thing when it comes to film. Film is dirty. It's a physical media. It's one of the reasons why I love physical media. It's because there's tangibleness to it. And we've completely lost that with everything being digitized. Now, I understand that this is not a legitimate film. It was not actually filmed on film. This is a digital effect that they're adding on after the fact, but I still appreciate it nonetheless.
It's a great aesthetic, but when you watch movies that are older, it takes a lot of effort to clean them up.
Yeah.
So we are very fortunate to live in this digital age where they can go through and save them, but it's not as simple as digitize it and here it is, because sometimes they do that. They just run it through the print. They say, here it is, we've scanned it, there's the movie.
And there are bad ways to do it. There are wrong ways to do that, which is why early on in the days of DVDs and Blu-rays, where they took all these old movies and they never cleaned them up, there are some digital copies of old movies that look like absolute shit on DVD and Blu-ray. But it's not until you get places like the Criterion people, they go through, they find the original print, and they put it through their cleaners over and over again until they get it pristine.
They go cell by cell with a fucking Q-tip, like dusting things off, hand painting little gaps, filling things in. And some of it they can fix in like digital effects. Some of that does get run through a computer program, but a lot of it is done literally by hand. And so
because they have to.
It's such a slow, painstaking process that we are really, really fortunate that there are people who care enough to do it.
Laborious.
Yeah. So
is a big word we can use.
I like that this movie does the opposite, where they're just like, we're going to make it really feel like 1970 by adding that shit into it.
Yeah, and the only thing that I wish is that we got more of the fashion. Like, we got some of the fashion at the Christmas party, but because this is a private school, everybody's in uniform and everybody's wearing a suit, and yeah.
You get a little of it in the fashion and the cars and the movie they go see and the way, like, the books look.
All the cars. I love when you can actually be in like an old town like Boston is, and the buildings are so old that they could be from any era, really.
I appreciate when they go and find the real neighborhoods that existed in 1970 and they look the fucking same. Like, there are places like that around here.
Totally.
But they're not that many. Like, there are streets in the town we live in that just look like shit. You could tell they were around in 1970, but they have not been taken care of in any way.
I'll tell you this, Betsy and I like this era so much as far as like the aesthetic look of everything. We bought a house that was built in 1974 because we were looking for exactly this kind of look.
Well, I just sent you something on Instagram yesterday that was like, architecture peaked in the 70s.
That's right.
And it was just this layout of a house with the names of each room, and there was a spot in the middle just labeled grooving area.
Yeah, it's a conversation pit, but they labeled it a grooving area.
It's the place you gotta groove with your friends.
It's the place where you get high.
If that is not the best architecture and the best place to live, I don't know what is.
We've mentioned this before. We lament the fact that we do not have a conversation pit in this house.
It's in our next house. If we ever construct a house from the ground up, that fucker's having a conversation pit. I don't care.
Totally.
I don't care if it's a hazard and you could fall in and break your fucking arm.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things from the 70s where people would hang out, this bowling alley. Betsy, I don't think we've talked much about bowling on this show.
Probably not too much.
My family's history was kind of born in a bowling alley, if you can believe it.
You are basically a product of a bowling alley.
I am a product of a bowling alley. My dad worked at a bowling alley back in the 70s, where he would talk to a lot of different people. Eventually, later on in his life, he became a mechanic, and that's pretty much what he did the rest of his life, but he was a mechanic for the machines of a bowling alley. Okay? So back in the 70s, he met with a lot of different people, one of them being my grandfather. My grandfather introduced my dad to my mother.
Your mom's father.
But yes, my mom's father. So my dad met my mom's father before he ever met her. They got introduced, and that's why I'm here. And they would spend so much time at bowling alleys, smoking cigarettes and drinking all night.
A complete kind of culture that just doesn't really exist anymore.
Bowling alleys don't exist anymore.
They do, but not in the same way. Not like with leagues and matching uniforms. And I think we talked about that a little bit in the Pleasantville episode, where it's just like, this is a sacred space. It was a total lifestyle that just really doesn't exist anymore. I went through the town where my dad used to go bowling not that long ago, and there is now a big gap in between two buildings where the bowling alley used to be, and I was devastated.
Oh, man. But before we leave this bowling conversation, we have to talk about where they are and what they're doing, because they're not bowling regular-ass bowling.
This is not, what do you call it?
10 pin. Yeah, they're bowling candlepin bowling. Now, Betsy and I did not really know what candlepin bowling was up until maybe about a year ago.
Less than. It was like this summer, I think.
No, it was longer than that. But it was back when we were watching a bunch of stuff on YouTube. It was like old school commercials from like the 80s and the 90s. Somehow we stumbled upon this 1986 or something, somewhere around there, candlepin bowling tournament. And by golly, we watched the entire thing.
Or just about. We watched a lot of it, and I had never heard of candlepin bowling because it's in the Northeast.
Yeah, it's just in New England. It never got exported elsewhere.
No, there's duckpin bowling, which is kind of similar, but they're like little squat.
They do have duckpin bowling around here. It's rare, though. It's usually only at the older bowling alleys.
The closest one I could find was in Nebraska, so several hours away from here.
But yeah, the candlepin bowling is much smaller balls and much smaller pins. But they're arranged in a different kind of... I haven't seen this thing for over a year now, but they're arranged in a different way. It's scored differently. It's really cool.
I was fascinated to find out this existed because I'd never heard of it before.
And these pins like are built in a way where they just scatter. Like in a regular 10-pin bowling thing, there's like a scientifically proven way of like angling your ball into it. Not with candlepin bowling. It's kind of luck.
It's smaller. It's a smaller ball. There's smaller pins, and it's a lot more chaotic.
They just go flying. It's fun. So the next time we're in New England, we're absolutely going to go candlepin bowling.
Because it's Boston, and that's where they have it.
Yeah. All right, well, I suppose we should probably talk about the fact that we're doing this for a Christmas kind of an episode. So, yeah, this takes place over Christmas and New Year's and everything else. There's a little bit of Christmas in here where, you know, they go to the Christmas party on Christmas Eve, and we got a bunch of the kids in the basement, like, doing art projects. The adults are upstairs, grooving out to the record player. Everybody's drinking and having a good time.
But it's also a reminder that there's a lot of lonely, sad people at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of who we are spending our days with. It's not holly jolly, you know, everybody is decorating Christmas trees. Like, they barely have a Christmas tree.
Yeah,
and they
have
sort of fake it through it.
This fucking Charlie Brown Christmas tree that is just, I love the fact that it is leaning on the desk.
He tried. Well, and when he gives them gifts, he gives them the same, like, book. He gives them
I have heard of this book before.
And it seems like something where they don't really get it, they don't appreciate it, but they show at the end he has literally a box of this textbook.
Right.
And here's the thing. I would be willing to bet that is his favorite book. That of all the books on the planet, this is a book that is really important to him.
Yeah.
And the act of him gifting it to them is actually very meaningful. But he doesn't explain that to them. So they just think it's a really weird choice.
Yeah, he says something to the effect of, hey, this is a book that is equal parts, you know, like Christianity and Buddhism and whatever else, but at no time does it say anything about God. This is not a religious thing. This is a spiritual thing. Because he talks about spirituality throughout this movie in his way. That's another thing that separates him from a lot of different things. He says the only time he ever goes to church is when he has to.
And it's another reason why he might not be that into Christmas.
Exactly.
Because it has the word Christ in it.
Well,
it's sort of a Christian thing, guys.
It's also a family thing because he never really had a good family life.
It's a double-edged sword. He doesn't have it on either front.
Yeah.
So why would he be that into Christmas? It's just another day to him.
Yeah, and he can be dismissive of other people who are really into Christmas because they all fuck off and go back home, all the students do, and he's left there. He's always there.
Yeah. So he tries to make Christmas a special thing.
Yeah.
And when the three of them have their little ham dinner, Angus remarks, I don't think I've ever had a meal like this in my life.
Right. A home-cooked, from the oven, from scratch Christmas meal. He says family meal as well, but he corrects himself.
Right, because it is the sort of thing you would have with your family, but he is not with his family.
Right.
But he kind of is in this moment.
In this moment, he is. And it was a great moment. So that was the Christmas conversation. The other reason why we're doing this movie is because, of course, this is up for a lot of Oscar buzz. Obviously, the nominations don't come out until next year, the end of January, but there's a lot of buzz about Paul Giamatti, and I would say this movie is probably going to get at least a few nominations.
I would say so. I would really like to see the kid
get
a nomination.
Yeah.
Because he was really, really good. And this is literally his first movie.
Yeah, his first on-screen
his first
anything.
Yeah. He has not done TV. He has not made a movie. His credits include this and himself in an interview special or something.
Wow.
That's it. So, yeah, I would love to see him get a nomination. I want good things for Paul Giamatti. And for the love of God, I don't know if or when he'll ever win an Oscar, but by God, I want him to try. I want it for him. I want it.
And we'll get into this when we talk more about Oscar stuff, but this year, though, it's really, really hard.
It really is. And like you said, he is doing something we have, to an extent, seen him do before, but he does it so well. He's such a good actor. He is a treasure in this generation. Yes. So he would definitely deserve it. You know, I would say, if anything, the dark horse, the surprise, would be if the woman who plays Mary got a nomination. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Like we say, people have won for less.
For a smaller performance, less screen time.
Yeah.
And she is completely solid throughout this movie, and she is holding it together. And then she has that one really great scene where she actually lets it go for just a little bit. But there's that moment before she has the full breakdown where you can see the emotions starting to flood into her eyes, and she shuts that shit down and tries to like make it go away.
Right.
And then she has a meltdown.
Right.
So yeah, she was really, really good in this
and I
too.
like the fact that they really did focus a lot on her, because we even had the scene of her back at her sister's place and taking the kids' clothing out of the box.
All the baby stuff from her son.
She is donating it to her sister. And the sister is going to name, if it's a boy, they're going to name it after her boy.
Or at least the middle name.
Sure.
But it's another act of just letting it go and trying to move on.
Yeah.
And for her, it's a big deal. And she's so meticulous. Like, she takes out the shoes and sort of holds them close and sets them aside.
Yeah.
And then looks at, like, every item is so precious to her.
Yeah.
And for her to give that to her sister means an enormous amount.
Totally. Besides the acting nominations, I would say original screenplay for sure.
I wrote down some of the words because they were tickling me so much. Going back to the language thing. Throughout this movie, he calls someone a troglodyte, a vulgarian, a boor, and snarling Visigoths.
Wow, I didn't catch that one.
That one was near the end.
Yeah. At the first meal where all of the kids are there, he calls them entitled little degenerates.
Yeah.
I love that.
So there is just very smart words and language being used here.
And we love that.
And we love it. And it's just a great screenplay.
Yeah.
So overall, I would say original screenplay is very likely because this movie's funny. This is a funny movie. It is a sad movie. It is a smart movie. It has so much going on with it that I really would like it to get the nomination.
There's no snark to it. It's not saccharine. It just is what it is. And if you like it, then you're gonna like it. This movie is not for everybody.
No, it could turn into a gross, like, inspirational teacher kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is.
No.
He's a jerk. No one likes him. When he leaves the school, all the students are like, well, fuck that guy. I heard he was eating turds in the bathroom. And even Angus doesn't really stand up for him. All he says is, that's not what I heard.
Right.
And then he goes and talks to him.
Right.
So even after he leaves, he's going to be having this reputation at the school for being shit.
The last one I would say that it would be up for is, I would say, production design, because it's really hard to evoke an era, especially indoors. And I think they nail it down to, like, that house where they have the Christmas party. That house is just decked from floor to ceiling with 1970s regalia.
And if it can pull off all of that, Best Picture.
Yeah,
because
I would say Best Picture is a very likely thing.
You tend to group it in there. If it's worthy of everything else, then it has to be the sum of its parts.
Yeah. And before we sat down here, we were kind of going through the history of this director, and we've completely forgot he also did Nebraska,
which we fucking love.
I love Nebraska.
It is the single movie, if you guys want to know what it's like to live where we live with the people that are around us, in small towns.
In small towns, that is the quintessential portrait of a small town in the upper Midwest where we come from.
Because the guy who wrote it grew up around here.
Yeah.
He is from South Dakota.
Yeah. Not written by this director, of course.
No, this is a different writer and a different, same director, different writer.
Exactly. But that movie, if you want to have just a snapshot of what it is to be in a room with a bunch of old guys talking about nothing. The best scene in that movie is in that room. You'll know what it is when you get to it.
And that being said, we didn't touch on it, but potentially director would be the last thing that we didn't mention for an Oscar
There's not really a lot of
nomination.
complicated things in this movie as far as shots, but
there are, because they're doing something that is an homage, because you have to do it exactly the way other people did it 50 plus years ago.
Exactly. That was the thing I was going to say. It's because he pulls off the invocation of the 1960s and 70s filmmaking style, and that's what the fucking Oscar voters like.
They love it. They eat it up.
Yeah. All right, that's it for Oscar talk. Betsy, did you have anything else to talk about the Holdovers?
The soundtrack for this movie is really good, and I'd kind of like a copy, please.
Again, very much evoking the 60s kind of like singer-songwriter stuff. There's Cat Stevens in here.
You can't have a movie from 1970 and not include a Cat Stevens song.
Yeah.
But other than that, yes, I think I've said what I wanted to say.
Okay. One very, very minor thing. Before they go to the party, there's like a montage of everybody getting ready, down to Angus using like a single razor. Like he has his hand all the way up to his face. I don't think I've ever seen anybody shave like that before.
He was holding what looked like a safety razor, but in a very bizarre way.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. Then we go over to Mary, who's getting ready, and Paul Giamatti doing his thing in the bathroom. They talk about the fact that he stinks.
He has a medical condition.
He has a condition. He also has clammy hands, which is a real thing.
So is the stinking thing.
It is. All that is totally real. But I can also understand how maybe that causes you to not want to be around people, or people not want to be around you.
Right. It just adds to it.
But along with that, he goes into the bathroom and finds a can of Glade air spray that he sprays under his armpits because, deodorant.
Glade brand deodorant.
Oh, God.
For the especially stinky.
Oh, God. I'm glad that they didn't make a joke about that at the party. It's like, what smells like pine trees?
It's just my armpits.
Yeah. All right, I think that's all we had about the Holdovers. I really like that one. This actually might be one that I revisit on occasion because it's not like a really, really like feel-good story, but it's great acting, it's great dialogue, it's great just writing in general.
And it's like White Christmas in that you could probably get away with putting this on any time of year.
Yeah, it's barely related to Christmas, but
if Die Hard gets to be a Christmas movie, this gets to be a Christmas movie.
They give gifts. There's a Christmas tree. There's a Christmas party. They say Christmas so many different times. It's a Christmas movie, goddammit. All right, that is going to be where we're going to have to end the Holdovers for now. Probably going to talk about this later on either in the season or in the Oscar season in general, but hopefully anyway. I hope it gets nominated for a lot. But if you'd like to tell us about your thoughts about the Holdovers, do you think our Oscar assessment is correct? Do you have any other Oscar recommendations before the nominations come out at the end of January? Let us know. Email us, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. Today, however, we are going to read an email that we got from Betsy's sister, Katie.
Dr. Katie.
Dr. Katie sent us an email about White Christmas, the first movie we've covered for this season. She actually sent us 2 emails. The first one was just her reacting to the fact that, oh yeah, these outfits that everybody seems to think were either like, black or a blue or something.
It was the choreography number.
Yeah, the choreography song, they're wearing purple, not any other color. And everybody seems to be very surprised about that, including Betsy when she first saw it.
You gotta watch it in high def. When you grew up watching it on a VHS on a crappy little TV, it makes a difference.
Indeed. But the second email is a more fully formed email, I should say. She says, "Hey, Betsy and Trent. So much I can say about my beloved White Christmas, but I'll keep it short. This movie is one of my all-time favorites because it was on all the time during our childhood. For me, it isn't really a Christmas movie though, despite its title. Here's why. My birthday is a week before Christmas, and everything happening is all about Christmas at that time. Well, happy birthday, Katie. Let us be the first ones to say it. Our grandparents always gave us a movie for birthdays and Christmas as kids, and one year I got White Christmas for my birthday. I intentionally ignored that it was about the impending holiday as a way of highlighting my birthday instead.
This is new information to me. I didn't realize growing up the copy we had was actually my sister's.
Okay.
I just assumed that was like a family movie because we always just put it in the group with all the rest of them.
It seems like one that you wouldn't necessarily ask for.
In our house, you would.
Okay. And she just finishes that thought, something most people don't have to think about. For me, the dancing and comedy was what made me fall in love with it to this day, and I watch it any day of the year. In fact, I almost avoid watching it as Christmas looms closer. Haha. And she says, anyway, I admire your restraint, Betsy, and your commentary in this episode.
Like
I had the same thought.
I could have talked a lot more about White Christmas.
Yeah, I kind of talked her down from a lot of other little factoids that Betsy knows. She says, I was thinking about so many other things that you could have discussed, but acknowledged the need to hold back for Trent's sake. Thank you. That's me saying thank you, not her. Had I been there with you, he would have had to yell at us for singing the harmonies of Sisters and most of the other songs as well. Enough for now. Glad to see that you've seen it now, Trent. Katie in New York.
Yay!
Thank you, Dr. Katie.
Thank you, my sister.
Yeah, Betsy definitely could have said more and made that episode another half hour longer.
At least.
Going over every little thing that she knows.
Oh, I've been sitting here the last few weeks realizing all the stuff that I didn't tell you as we were watching that movie.
Oh, yeah.
But again, I'm going to hold back because otherwise this will end up being half an hour longer.
I had to mention something in our Scrooged episode that I had forgot to talk about. So at least I had the opportunity to finish my thought anyway. So anyway, thanks again, Katie, for that email. Again, if you would like to tell us about your thoughts about White Christmas or Scrooged or the Holdovers or any other Christmas movie that we're skipping this year, let us know. Email us, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. And of course, we're on all the other social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, all that shit. And if you have a free moment, go to your podcast app of choice, rate us 5 stars, and there it helps promote the show. But that is going to be the end of this episode. This has been The Holdovers. Betsy, we have one more holiday movie to go. I'm not going to call it a Christmas movie because...
It is a movie at Christmas.
It is a movie at Christmas and has something to do with it. But no, Betsy, we're going to watch Krampus next.
Hell yes, we're watching Krampus next.
On Christmas Eve, we're releasing our finale, let's say. Krampus is the movie we're watching last. It's been recommended to us so many times in the past, and we've heard other people, including Stephanie, has already recently watched it, so at least we're going to get some thoughts from her.
It's time. Yeah, it's time.
It is time for us to watch Krampus, and I know nothing about that. We'll cover that, however, next week. But until then, this has been another episode of Never Seen It. My name is Trent.
My name is Betsy.
We'll catch you next time.
Bye.